Good afternoon and welcome to our What's Buzzin at Georgia Tech webinar series. My name is Tyler Barker. I serve as the coordinator within the Office of Parent and Family Programs. We're so excited to have you joining us here today as we start a new month, as we reach kind of the halfway point throughout our semester. We'd just like to thank you for being with us all through this way during our webinar series. Today we are joined by a very special guest, VP for Student Engagement and Wellbeing, and also our Dean of Students, Dean Stein. He's going to take some time, give you some brief updates, kind of tell you where we are during the semester, and also take some questions. He would love to hear from you, to know what your students are going through, what they're experiencing through this time. If you have any questions for Dean Stein, please feel free to utilize the Q&A chat box. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the Q&A chat box. Now is screen PowerPoint presentation for you. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dean Stein.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, greetings, everyone, from Atlanta and from my office here at Georgia Tech. It's a beautiful day here, sunny and in the 60s, and our students are loving it. As Tyler said, we are right in the middle of our spring semester. Hard to believe, but we are halfway to the end, and I know that students and I know some faculty are counting down the days till spring break. At this point in the semester, spring term especially, when we have that long stretch between the beginning and a one-day break until spring break, we reach this point and everyone starts counting down the days until that students can take a break, and faculty also. Today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about kind of where we are, what happens between now and the end of the semester, so that you're aware of some of the deadlines and some of the important kinds of decisions that students need to be making. And then talk a little bit about spring break itself, more of some advice there, and then open it up to questions and answers. So without further ado, if you could change the slide to the next. So let's just kind of review some of the important dates from here to the end. All right. So for those students who are registered in 1,000 and 2,000 level classes, progress report grades are posted. They were due last week. They're in the system. Students can go in and check. As I said in the past, those grades are either S for satisfactory, U for unsatisfactory. It is a kind of first report on the progress that the student's making in the class. Students should go in and check it just to make sure. You should be asking them about it if they check their progress report grades, if they're in 1,000 and 2,000 level classes. If they have a U, not to get overly concerned about that. Sometimes that grade is based on a small percentage of completed work, maybe one exam, possibly two. So there's still time, as we're saying, half a semester to work on those grades and to, get to a place where you want to be. But it is a good snapshot, and this is why we do it. It's a way of kind of helping students track their progress. If they see a grade and they're not clear about it, they should be talking to their professor or to their TA about it. They should not let something go by that doesn't seem right to them without having a conversation. Okay. On March 16th, which is very closely next few days, is the schedule of classes for summer and fall term are online. Okay, that's when students can start looking at potential classes that they want to take in the upcoming semesters. They should go on, start reviewing it. And the reason I want to review these deadlines is because all of this is happening during the time that the student is still trying to deal with what's in front of them in terms of their own coursework currently. We are coming out of a number of weeks of pretty significant testing. Okay, we're in week 8. This is the time of the semester that upper level classes typically have the midterm, right? On the lower end, they probably have already had 1 or 2 exams, and this 6, 7, 8 are heavy testing weeks, sometimes 9 for students. So they number of students have been dealing with back-to-back exams in the classes that they're currently taking. But they can't lose sight of other things that they really need to be mindful of. So the schedule of classes is one thing to start going on. The other is the withdrawal deadline, which is March 16th. Okay, any student has the ability to go in now, between now and the 16th, and withdraw from a class without penalty. Okay, they can withdraw from all of their classes if they had to on their own. Okay, they wouldn't need permission from anyone. They can just go in and withdraw from the classes if they needed to. Okay, after the 16th, they're locked into that class, and they cannot just go into the system and withdraw. So if a student is considering withdrawing, they should be very mindful of the March 16th deadline. Now, some things to take into consideration, because you have to make an informed decision around withdrawing. One, for seniors, what you want to make sure, graduating students, what you want to make sure is that it's not going to somehow change your date of graduation. Okay, that would be really, really important. Okay. For others, international students, you want to make sure that it doesn't jeopardize your visa status. For financial aid students, you want to make sure that your financial aid would not be jeopardized in any way. Scholarship students, the same thing. So sometimes it means doing a little bit of work, getting the information from financial aid, from the Office of International Education, just to make sure that, you know, when you hit that button, that it's not going to work against you. Okay, so just again, if they're talking about withdrawing, you might want to ask them if they're considering it. You know, just remind them of some of those things. I'm always asked the question, you know, is it bad to have a W on the transcript? The answer is no, it is not. Okay, students withdraw from classes for all kinds of reasons in any given semester. What one wants to avoid long term is a pattern of withdrawals where it seems like every semester or frequently you're withdrawing from things, because then it looks like you're not able to assess how much you can really handle in a given semester. But, you know, to have one semester full of W's, anything could have happened. A family emergency, a medical emergency, a mental health emergency. There are many, many different reasons why students may have to withdraw from a semester. And certainly there are reasons to withdraw from an individual class. Sometimes it's a strategic move. If you calculate the GPA that you would earn with the course in it that you're not doing well, and then you calculate that GPA again with that course taken out, and the differential between the GPAs is significant, then if it has no major ramifications in other areas, then that might be a you know, strategic withdrawal to try and maintain a higher GPA, you know, overall. March 16th is also the grade substitution forms. These are courses that they're retaking because they received a low grade and they want to substitute. Okay, that's a firm deadline. They have to meet it, otherwise they will not be able to do it. So keep reminding them of that. March 21st through the 25th will be the long-awaited spring break, and I'll say more about that. When we get back from spring break, registration phase 1 begins. So the schedule of classes are out for a few weeks before the students will actually start registering for those classes. Okay. We have about 22 days between when we return from spring break until the final instruction days. So it's a fast track to the end. Final instruction days for the semester are in April 25th and 26th. And then on the 28th of April, our final exam period begins. And that goes right on up until early May. And then commencement is on May 6th or 7th, depending on graduate student. So that's what's happening between now and the end. What I'll say is that, students begin to realize just like how little time is left as we move ahead through these next few weeks, and certainly when we get back from spring break. And so some students begin to kind of feel the stress and pressure of it to try and get everything done, to try and get that overall grade where they want it to be, or the realization that that grade is going to fall short than where they hoped it to be. And so it is not uncommon for students to, in the last phase of the semester, to feel more stress and angst over the way things are going. We have plenty of support on campus, plenty of places to go and talk about that. You should remind them of that. They can always come into the dean's office. We can have a conversation. We have CARE. We have the counseling center. There's an academic advisor, and there's their faculty and TAs that they can talk to. So just remind them if they're feeling very overwhelmed to link with somebody, have a conversation with someone. I had a student come in last week. It was based on his mom emailing me that morning and saying he's really struggling and I'm concerned about him, and I just think he needs to sit down with somebody and talk this out loud. I got him in that day, had a conversation. We talked about, alternatives, and we talked about kind of a strategy, how to move ahead, a conversation he can have with one of his professors, and we worked it out. And and it just took that conversation. By the end of the conversation, he turned to me and he said, "I feel so much better." And nothing was even problem solved at that point, but just sitting down with somebody, talking about it out loud, figuring out a strategy of how to move ahead, and figuring out options helped to relieve the stress and pressure that he was feeling. And I think a lot of students sometimes don't do that. They just hold on to it, they keep it in their head, and they're not really talking to anyone about it. And really the conversations need to happen with those of us here. You're wonderful, I'm sure, in terms of listening, but in terms of problem solving, it's best done here within the Institute where we know the policies and we know how to direct students to the right conversations. So next slide, please. So students, usually one of two things happen, three things actually with students for spring break. Either they stay here on campus, and a lot of students don't stay, but we do have others that do. They go home to you, or they go away someplace, right? And so those that stay on campus will see that it's a very different week. It's a very quiet week. Not all the services are available. That might be during the time when students are all on campus and stuff. There will be places to eat and things like that, but just it has a different pace to it during the week. It is a good week for students to catch up if they want academically, or even partially stay here for a few days and then go someplace else. If they're coming home, the only thing I'll say is, just be mindful of the kinds of conversations you're going to have with them as they come home. Okay. I would say that the first question should not be, how are your grades so far this semester? Okay. If things are going really well, I'm sure that's one of the first things they're going to share with you as they come home. But if it's not, that may not be one of the first things that they share. And we really don't want to add to stress or have them begin to think that they have to avoid having conversations with you. So how they're faring academically is important, but I wouldn't make it the first question. How this semester's going? Are you having a good semester? Are you enjoying? What fun things did you do? Whatever other questions you might ask, I think would be better than, how are your grades? In talking to students over the many years, unfortunately, they do tell me that this is the place that most families start. in terms of grades. And so I'm just saying, just maybe rethink that a bit. While they're home, many times this happens, you're not spending enough time with us. They're only home for a week. And so I think they're, trying to either catch up on sleep, they're trying to catch up with friends that they had, from high school or the neighborhood. But sometimes it feels like they're home, but they're not home. So you kind of have to just navigate that. Why you're sleeping so late? Fair question, but I can tell you that if they've just come off of a few weeks of a lot of tests and stuff, usually they go home and they just want to rest. They want to sleep and get a good night's sleep and stuff. So, yeah, I would avoid questions, statements like you've gained, you lost weight, kind of deal. Just because I think it sets the tone in terms of feeling that they are being personally attacked by a statement like that. Again, it might be an appropriate question, but the timing of when to ask it. I wouldn't ask the question, do you feel like you're working hard enough? Okay. All of these questions are questions that students have reflected back to me in terms of what their families have shared. So I just ask that, again, as parents, I think we have to have the conversations we need to have with our students, our children, but I think how we have them and the timing of when we have them is really what's important. So just some thoughts there. Next slide, please. Yeah, and if they're going away to someplace else, let me just say that spring break is a high-risk time, okay? And we know that from the news that we hear on TV and other places in terms of things that happen when students are on break and congregating in places with each other and stuff. So really, it's very important as parents to remind students of some things. And sure, they may roll their eyes, but I still think it's really, really important to remind them of things. We do remind them too. We typically do, right before spring break, a kind of safe spring break campaign that also reminds them of some of this stuff. But the first thing is safety comes first, is to obviously say to keep themselves safe, right? To be with the people that they've gone with, to not go off with people that they don't know, to not accept rides or drinks from people they don't know, to just really kind of be mindful of safety. Remember the risk factors, alcohol, okay? Spring breaks are traditionally connected to periods of time when there's a lot of drinking, drugs, other unknown substances and stuff. Not all students engage in this, but they may be even in a whole group of individuals that are doing it. So just that's an important piece. Communicate with your parents or friends back home, have an agreement that, midweek, every other day, like you'll just send a text and, check in with us so that we know everything is okay and that you're doing all right. Okay. Keep up with important items, your identification, have it with you. Don't lose it, don't give it to anybody else. Watch in terms of your money and your devices, your phone and other things, okay? These are just really important things to, have on their person and to be aware of who's around them and stuff. And also, don't forget sunscreen. That's a big one in terms of just skincare and stuff. So these are the things that, we remind them. We hope that you remind them. We want them to have a good, relaxing, enjoyable, fun week, but we certainly want it to be a safe week. And obviously, we want no tragedies during that week. So I just ask that you kind of partner with this and have these kind of conversations. For many of our first year students, it might be a first time where they're venturing off with a group on their own. That's not chaperoned. It may have happened in high school, but typically those are chaperoned. Here, there probably is no chaperone, okay? It's just, them. The other thing I would say is that, please talk to them and say if they end up in a situation that they really feel unsafe or compromised some way, that they should find a way to get them to a safe place, whether that's a restroom or someplace else, and call you and tell you kind of what's going on so that you can help problem solve in that moment. Okay, just say that to them, that if hope you don't need this, but if you do, don't worry about what, how we might react. Call us, let us know what's happening, and we can kind of at that point figure out with you how to problem solve something. Okay, so let's just kind of agree, we'll partner, and we will create a situation where students go off and, as I said, have a relaxing, enjoyable, fun, safe week, and then come back ready to get through the final weeks of the semester. The thing I'm going to kind of end with, I'll just say, is that, during this time, this is a transition time. You see, this is with this piece of this time of the semester is a transition time. What do I mean by that? I mean that students are living in two worlds simultaneously. The one that they're in now in terms of getting through this semester, as they then are dealing with the future. Okay, so for graduating students, it's job searches, it's applications to graduate school, medical school, law school, whatever. It's thinking about tomorrow as they get through the semester. Okay, for the rest, it's about, being in the moment and getting through this semester as they plan for the future, choose their classes for either summer or fall, think about internships, think about summer employment, think about research. This is just a transition time. You live in two spaces simultaneously and have to navigate it. It's also a transition time in the fact that a lot of leadership changes during this time within the Institute. Student organizations, this is the time that elections would happen, new leadership would occur, and they're all picking the future. And so we've all learned how to kind of navigate this here in terms of being in both places simultaneously. But for the first year student, it is a bit tricky because it's the first time they're kind of walking through it and understanding kind of what's going on. So, but it's an exciting time. I do want to reassure you that right now, in relation to COVID, we are in a very, very, very good place. I was on the task force meeting this morning. The prevalence on campus is very low. The testing is still available to students that want it. The positivity rate is extremely low right now on campus. So we're in a very good spot, and that's due to all the hard work that the Institute's put into this, and also the great response on the part of our students, faculty, and staff. So I'll end there and see what kind of questions you might have at this time, or anything you'd like to discuss. It's like class, somebody's got to go first, right?
Thank you so much for that, Dean Stein. Let's see what we have here. My student wants to register for a BS/MS in CS. He is not getting any fast response from his professors that he had approached via email to give recommendation letters. Due to the pandemic, my student is not able to develop close relationships with professors. What is the best way for my student to approach and get recommendation letters before deadlines? Upon visiting the department, my student usually finds doors closed, other professors' office. Any guidance is appreciated.
Yeah, great point. It's hard to predict when people are going to be in their office and stuff. I would say that it is, you need to be persistent. And so I would follow up with an email after a few days and say, Professor so-and-so, I'm not sure if you received my first email. I have a deadline of X date, and I'm wondering if you received it and if you're willing to write a recommendation for me. A response back would be important, because if you're not able to, I need to find someone else, and kind of just really get the faculty member as best you can to understand the timeliness of a decision and a response. So that the other is to kind of show up. Now, again, you show up at the office, they may not be there, but I would show up with a note that was already pre-written. And if they're not there, I'd slide it under the door and just say that, I stopped by, because I've been emailing you about a recommendation, but I would have one pre-written. I would slide it under the door and say, I would appreciate if you can get back to me, tomorrow, today, whatever. But persistence, just keep your presence known to the faculty member.
Thank you, Dean Stein. Seems we have a comment just about dining and wait times and things of that sort. So please feel free to email our office, parents@gatech.edu, and we'll be sure to get your concerns and sentiments to our dining staff so that they can be aware and best support your student. Thank you for taking such good care of students that have been displaced with the incident that happened in Perry Matheson. What is the expected return to these dorms? Also, what are the arrangements for students to get items from the dorm? It seems that it is taking longer than expected to make repairs, and students need items in their dorm room.
Yeah. So, again, the situation that you always have to be ready for something that happens like this, and then figure out kind of a response that as best works for students and for the Institute. Here's the reality, is that right now the supply chain issue within the country and the nation probably is what's really getting in the way. With the parts that we need have not arrived due to the supply chain issue and stuff. And so our hope was that we would have had this repaired now or shortly thereafter, but because of these issues, we have not been able to. Now, if a student really needs something in that building and in their room, they should work with their RA, and they should contact the housing office and say, I need to get something out of my room. It's important, and they will work out a time, probably during the day, daylight, when they can go in and retrieve whatever they need. Okay, so I think that what we've done is we've just extended contracts wherever our students are in terms of hotels and stuff, because we're just not sure how long it's going to take. We know it's a major inconvenience. We are well aware of that, and we're doing the very best we can. I do have to say that students have been very impressive in terms of their just understanding of this and willingness to just take this as just something that right now they have to work with us to get through. It's terribly unfortunate that it happened, but.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Dean Stein. What should my first year student be doing this summer? They are having trouble finding an internship. Should I panic or?
No, look, here's what I'll say is that don't panic, because if you panic, they're going to panic. Okay, so really, always keep that in mind, that they pick up on your anxiety and your panic. What would be the worst thing if your student was not able to secure an internship this summer? Ideally, we would love it to happen, but if it doesn't happen, it is not the worst thing in the world if that didn't happen. Okay, they should continue to try. There's plenty of time between now and, May, June, when they can start internships and stuff. So continue to try. Don't lose hope. Be persistent and keep applying, right? Keep networking. They might want to connect with the Alumni Association and see whatever area of interest they have as far as an internship. Is there an alum, a Georgia Tech alum in that field, in whatever place they want to be, whether it's Georgia or someplace else, that they can make contact with? A lot of our alum hire tech students as interns. So that might be another way to go. And if they were to contact the Alumni Association, there's a whole database that they can have access to and stuff. So, it's not about panicking, but I think what would be important is to have a conversation with them that if the internship doesn't come through, what's your plan? What do you want to be doing? They need a plan B. Okay, you can't just have a summer of like just hanging out and doing nothing. So what's the plan B if the internship doesn't come through? And have them start thinking about that. A plan B might be that, they get a job someplace, not the internship they want, but they do secure a job to make some money. A plan B might be that they take summer classes, either here or close to home if they're not going to be in Georgia, and just, catch up a little or be ahead a little. Plan B might be that they would do some volunteer work someplace. So there's a number of things that they can do so that it's not a lost summer. But I would say if their internship is really what they want, it just sometimes takes a while to secure it, and keep trying. Just don't give up. And the persistent student is the one that in the end ultimately usually succeeds. So keep encouraging them. That's the role that you should play, is to keep encouraging them. Not to do it for them, but keep encouraging them.
Yes, and I would like to add as well, with that student being a first year, to kind of exercise some patience. Many students take a summer to just kind of regroup. They've had a very rigorous first year, and that it's okay to just refresh and recharge your brain and your body and your mental, and look forward to the second and third year obtaining an internship as well. So there are some pros to being a first year and not necessarily having an internship opportunity. What on-campus jobs are available for students thinking about employment next year? I know the Student Center opens next fall. There are employment opportunities. I will post a link to the HR website here, so that way your student can access that and see what opportunities are available. Student employment is very beneficial to students. It kind of teaches them soft skills, life skills, time management, and there's also a benefit financially as well. We are hiring in our office for parent assistant leaders next fall. If that is another opportunity for your student to look into, please visit our website, parents.gatech.edu. I'll post that link as well.
Yeah, let me just say that the issue of employment, we employ hundreds and hundreds of students on this campus in different places and stuff. Within our division, we employ hundreds of students between the campus recreation center and other areas within. Even in the dean's office, we have 4 different student assistants that work with us. GTRI, our research institute, employs hundreds of students every semester. So there are plenty of opportunities, and Tyler's going to direct you to the place where many of us would list our positions that we're looking for students to, consider.
Perfect. Does the Institute monitor new professors as to how they are teaching their classes? Is in a class with a young professor that doesn't seem to have an abundance of experience. He has to actually study the slides from other professors. Other than my student reaching out to the professor for constant clarification, is there a more seasoned faculty member monitoring less experienced faculty?
Yes, good, great point, great question. So let me explain. So with new faculty, Typically, they're giving a mentor within the department that they are teaching and who works with that faculty member as they transition into the role and transition to tech. Okay. There is a faculty evaluation form, a course evaluation form at the end of the semester. Sometimes the faculty even do one midway to get feedback from students, where students can give feedback on their teaching and the students' learning that's going on or not going on. Not all faculty choose to do the midterm, but many of them they have to do the end of the year one. That's the institute requires that. Encourage your student to fill that out and give honest feedback. It can be anonymous, so they don't have to worry. The faculty do not receive any of the data back until after grades are due. So even if a student chooses to put their name on it, we minimize any possibility of, retaliation or something, which I hope would never happen, but we just avoid all of that. I get them for my GT 1000 class. They come after the semester ends, after grades are due, and they're helpful. I read the comments that the students make. It's both a survey form, but there's free comments that the individual can make. Along the way, I would say if there's real issues, then speaking to the faculty member, it sounds like your student has done, it would be helpful. The other would be to, just send an email to the chair of the department and say that, I'm really enjoying this class, but it seems as if the faculty member right now is struggling. And, I just want to see if there's anyone that might be able to assist that professor. And the student can always ask that I'd like to remain anonymous and please do not share my name. I'm doing this out of concern not to get the faculty member in trouble. And then I think the chair of the department would not disclose that information.
Any funding opportunities for out-of-state, still off-campus, F1 visa, second-year international students?
Funding in terms of scholarships, or is that what we're asking?
I'm not sure. I was probably going to recommend having them reach out to OIE.
Yeah, OIE would be a good place to start to see what scholarships are available. And then obviously each of the colleges have scholarships that they can award students typically after the first year. But the place to start might be OIE. And also the financial aid webpage, I believe, has a listing of scholarships.
And Dean Stein, could you just, I know we touched on this a few minutes ago, but could you just reassure that it's never too late to pursue internship opportunities? The parent is saying, my son is about to finish his second year, returning for a summer job that he had last year, but the job is somewhat related to his desired career. Is junior year too late to obtain a summer position that is more related to career goals?
It's never too late. Honestly, never. I mean, I think that, what you have to think about is, the portfolio that the student is building along the way for however long they're here, 4 years, 5 years, right? So in the end, what does that portfolio include? Okay, and when I say portfolio, it usually comes into a kind of, a resume. But if we think about it as a portfolio, so one of the things is the set of classes that they take within their major and the kind of learning experiences that they've had. The other is internships, work experience, research that they've done, study abroad, leadership opportunities, different organizations that they've been a part of. Even if they haven't held leadership roles within that organization, they've still been involved with an organization. Any community volunteer service that they did as a part of their time at Georgia Tech, either on campus or off campus. These are all things that are in that portfolio. And so the goal for the student is to build such a portfolio that when they're ready to launch beyond tech and into the world of work, this is what they go back to, and this is what they bring into their interviews with, you know, potential companies and employers and stuff, and speak to them. You know, this is what I did during my time as a student at Georgia Tech. And so it's never too late. No one's going to ask you, when did you do that internship, right? They're just interested that you've done an internship or that you did undergraduate research. So I think that I would say anytime is okay.
Great, I think that's a perfect answer. Is the summer session a true semester with all the courses and classes available for fall and spring that our son can register for as their full semester?
Yeah, I mean, summer, the way summer works here is that we have 2 short terms at the front end and more towards the middle to the end, and then we have 1 long session. Okay, 1 10-week. So a summer long session is 10 weeks, and then the short sessions are 5 weeks at the front end or the last 5 weeks of the term. So a student can take a combination of things. They can take 1 or 2 or 3 full 10-week courses. They could take a 1 or 2 10-week and a 1 5-week at the front end, or 1 at the back end, or 1 in each. So they can put it together so that they build their schedule and take the courses that they want to and stuff. So yes, you can have a full semester. There are many courses that are being offered during the summer. And again, once that list becomes public, they can go on to the website and check all of the courses that they can.
Will there be a number of summer 22 classes that will be offered as remote sync or async? I ask because my student is returning home for the summer and would like to take a summer class while at home. We are out of state.
Yeah, there'll be a combination of things. So again, when the list becomes published here, they should look to see how the course is being taught. Okay, so there will be a combination of both in-person, hybrid, and async. So yes.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have for today, Dean Stein. Do you have any closing remarks as we head out?
Yeah, I mean, great questions, great discussion. I appreciate the time I always spend with all of you, and I wish you all a really great spring. And just be ready for when they come back, and give them some love. So thanks very much. Take care.
Dean Stein, I did have one more comment. If
Yeah,
a student needed to access our mental health resources here on campus during spring break, will they still have that opportunity?
We're open. Yep. The administrative office is the dean's office. I'll be here. The care center's open. The counseling center's open. Yes, actually, it might be a good time because there's less people around. So if somebody wanted to come in for an appointment, they could do that. And what I would suggest that they do is to try and set that up the week before. So do it before spring break, set it up the week, call in and say, I'd like an appointment during spring break, but set it up in advance. So yes, it's available.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule to be with us, and look forward to hearing from you soon. And parents and families, please know that this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. And it's also available on our website, parents.gagtech.edu. And we also have a webinar with the Counseling Center and GT Care next Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that.
Great.
Good day.
All right. Take care. Bye.